Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mr.Higgles and today we're going to be taking a look at Workshop 2.0 and what you should be going for kind of as a newer player and not necessarily an experienced one, because I feel like a lot of the experienced players kind of know what they're going to be going for. But if you want to see a guide that kind of goes a little bit more in depth of what a Champion League player kind of needs to be going for, I can definitely do that later on. But we're going to focus on semi-newer player kind of mindsets today. So there's a lot of stuff here, right? I think there's close to, if not a little bit more than 50 items to go for. So as you can kind of see, I'm going for two different things. I haven't even filled up my other 3 slots because I actually haven't even decided what exactly I'm going to go for next. And we'll get into that in a little bit as to why. But the first thing is, in my opinion, is you need to go for weapons, because weapons always are more important than the robots that you put them on, basically. I did a video a pretty long time ago, actually, where I ran level 1 robots with my regular level weapons, and I did very well still, even with level 1 robots, and that was a little while ago. So weapons are obviously far more important than the robot. So if I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you, if you're a newer player, there's only 2 weapons that you need to be going for first, and that is the Turan, and that is the Orkin. So, and that's the Exodus. Let's go down to the Orkin here. Somewhere the Orkin is here. There it is. So these 2 weapons, I say go for them first, mainly 2 reasons. One, they are very, very good, each in their respective way. Orkin is splash damage, and Turan is plasma damage. As the game has gone on, and since its infancy to what it is now, from when the game came out with the Orkin, I think the Orkin was with the game when it first came out. If not, it was very quickly soon added. And then with the introduction of the first Workshop and the Turan, these 2 weapons have been predominantly the most powerful weapons in the game, or at the very least, you could say they're always top tier. So I would recommend at least having 4 of each one. That's what you should be going for first, in my opinion, right? I don't recommend these shredders, the pulsers. They're not terrible, they're not bad, but again, I see them could be possibly getting changed. You know, they could be different, and because of that, and because they're newer, they're going to cost a fortune to even acquire. Let's see, on the pulsar, it's going to cost 690,000 silver just for 4 components. That's going to take 3 days and 14 hours to get, right? New players, you don't need that, and a lot of even old players, like that's a long time. Magnums, if you're going to be running a Raven or a Griffin with plasma, I definitely can recommend some Magnums. They're another cheap, good option. You can acquire them very fast and upgrade them for fairly cheap, right? Hydras, they are the absolute bane of my existence on the battlefield. I really hate that weapon. It needs a really strong altering of how it performs. I think it's far too powerful. Definitely a solid option for you, though, if that's what you're wanting, right? If you look at the upgrade times, it's fast, it's fairly cheap, you know, definitely a solid option. The Storms are okay, they're pretty good. They need a little bit of a oomph, in my opinion. Arbalist, don't even bother. Vortex, don't bother. With all the dash bots out there, it is very hard to hit with the Vortex, right? So, all of this is great, right? All of this is fantastic. You know, what should you be going for weapon-wise? Well, what about bot-wise? I don't recommend Carnage, Fujin, Raijin. Don't get them. I do not even recommend wasting your time on them. They are in desperate need of some help, and in today's kind of gameplay, they don't have a place, in my opinion. Don't even waste your time. They don't really take too long to get, but they're not really that cheap. So it's something I really can't recommend. The Raven, very good robot, especially going to be in the lower leagues. It's going to be a monster down there. Its only real problem is that new players aren't going to be able to afford to upgrade it, and that's just a fact. It's just far too expensive. The Rhino, again, it'll be good for lower leagues, but once you get into high tiers, now and there's definitely players that run this robot in the high tiers, but I wouldn't recommend it. Dash bots are always going to be good. The Inquisitor's good. Mercury it's a great robot, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. For a lot of players, it's going to be very difficult to handle and control and be very well with it. Spectre is great. The Bulwark, it can be really, really good. My personal favorite is the Pursuer. And then people like Adrian and everything, they do really good work with the Hellburner. Everything else, I love the Falcon. It's great, but you can kind of see what works and what kind of doesn't work. I don't really recommend anything down here. No, just no. If you really want a good indication of what's most effective, you can always go to the Legend League or see what the champion players are running. But for a beginner player, you need to focus on things like Griffins. You need to focus on things like getting your first dash bot. You need to focus on cheaper options for you, but that can still hold up over time, right? That aren't so awful. So let's go take a look at some upgrade times now. I do have a list that Mr. Kick provided for me. He's a really, really good player, and he's been kind of on the podcast and everything. He's really cool. So he gave me this list of all the upgrade times and what it used to be, what it's changed to, time, silver, and all that kind of stuff. So let's go and take a look at that. All right, guys. So here are the upgrade times now. Like I said, Kick was able to give me this document, but it looks like Master Chief from the Tool Breakers clan is the one that compiled this list. It's very, very nice. I posted this on my Facebook page, so I'll link that down in the description if you want to click on this. If you know Master Chief or anything, send him a happy thank you. You're awesome, because this is so very, very nice and laid out quite well. So we're talking about light weapons. We talked about the Magnum being one that you should go for if you're going to be running like a Plasma Griffin or a Plasma Raven or something that with light weapons and you want to run Plasma. So the total upgrade time used to be 8 days, 12 hours, and 35 minutes. It's gone from that to 17 days, 5 hours, and 12 minutes, with its cost is more than doubled. Unfortunately, for everything else on this list, that is probably going to be the lowest thing to upgrade, the easiest thing to upgrade. I'm going to go on record right now and saying I do think that these upgrade times are absolutely absurd. I do not agree with them. I do think they need to be changed. I'm using the contacts that I have as a content creator through Pixonic to influence some change, just like the rest of the YouTubers. We're trying to do what we can. And I have voiced the opinion of the absurdity of these upgrade times. Anyways, some of them, though, did go down, like the Aphid actually is cheaper and shorter to go, to upgrade, but most things I would say are very, very expensive now and much more, much longer to upgrade. The Gust, like I was saying, if you're getting a newer one, it's unfortunately going to take you 7 more days and double the silver cost. Now, the 7 more days thing isn't necessarily that bad. Like, there's far worse. But as far as medium's concerned, Orkin and Turan the Orkin is largely unchanged for sure. Its silver went up a little, and its upgrade time went up a little. So if you want to prioritize Orkins first, absolutely go for it. I can kind of encourage you to do that. The Turan is ridiculous. It went from being 48 to 96, and it went from 12 days to 29 days. Absolutely crazy. Now, if I'm understanding this correctly, he doesn't say this. I don't think. Okay, so yeah, MK1 to MK1 level 12. So none of this is even taking into account the MK2 grind, right? Anything you see here in this column here, Orkin, 63 million, 16 days, double it for MK2 for you beginning players. Like that's what you're going to be wanting to think of. That's going to be 126,000 silver, or 126 million silver, I'm sorry. And then it's going to be 32 days, or 33 roughly, for Orkin time. 33 days. So in 12 months of the year, you could get one Orkin to MK2 with a little bit more time than a month, right? How ridiculous is that? But you need to be thinking of these things. That's why you want to prioritize one thing at a time if you're not going to be speeding up your upgrades. Because if you're just upgrading willy-nilly, I'll level up an Orkin, and then a Storm a little bit, and then an Orkin a little bit more, you will never get anywhere, and you'll never be able to be competitive. Now, if that's what you want to do for fun, then go for it. It's a game, and it's meant to be played for fun. But this is kind of your ending goal is Champion League, or at least the best league that you can be in, right? Heavy weapons are absolutely outrageous. Thankfully, the Thunder really didn't change at all. The Silver is the same, and it actually got by 12 minutes faster to upgrade. A lot of these heavy weapons are going to be extremely expensive. The Exodus, I could definitely recommend you getting, but for beginner players, it's not even a question of when you get it. It's going to be a question of when you could upgrade it. And this 170 million is absolutely absurd. Any new players shouldn't really be thinking about heavy weapons because you're never going to be able to afford to upgrade them. The silver cost is unreal. Most of them being over 100 million on average, just looking like the silver cost is around 120, 130 million for average. Super insane, right? So you guys need to keep that in mind. I mean, we've kind of gone over the robots, but this is kind of what you're going to be looking as far as the upgrade times and silver for the robots. The Gepard largely remained unchanged. This little robot's really interesting because it's one of the ones that it will, or at least it used to when I first started playing, utterly annihilate the lower leagues. But as soon as you start getting into higher leagues, Diamond League, whatever, it falls off really, really hard. And I mean hard. It goes from being absolutely incredible to not being good at all anymore because it's one of those old robots that has no ability. Its best thing about it was that it had 3 light weapons and it was super fast. And now comparatively, it's super slow, and light weapons, besides the Gust, are largely not so good. Well, you got the Spark too, but a new player is not going to be able to even afford those probably. Beginning players, Griffins, you're going to be wanting, I would recommend trying to start going for a Dashbot kind of early on to get yourself a good edge, a Haichi or a Bulgasari. Kumiho, I wouldn't recommend because it's the same pretty much. It's a little cheaper, honestly, but the Haichi is in my opinion, a bit better, and I don't know. You could go for it. The Kumiho is a little bit faster. The Haichi has a little bit more defense, and the Bulgasari is slower, but a lot more defense. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like it and subscribe if you're new here for more content. And if you have any of your own thoughts, leave them down in the comments below. And until the next video, I will see you guys later.